Alright, I'm over at Drudge, and I see the headline, Iraq turns to Iran for help. As all of you know, there is more tension going on in Iraq, and we're seeing higher oil prices as of last week. And the trend will continue until this issue gets resolved. Now the question is, when does this get resolved? But before we look into the oil prices and the oil market, I want to look at some of the writings in the past of individuals who commented on Iraq, right? I may not necessarily agree with what they're saying, and most of you actually will not agree with what they're saying, but part of what they're saying is relevant to what's going on today, and let's look at that right now. Alright, now I'm in the book, Michael Savage, Liberalism as a Mental Disorder. This was written probably in 2005. I didn't read it until 2008. But I don't necessarily agree with everything that he says. Michael Savage, I mean, he's better than most neocons out there. You could say that he has neocon tendencies, but he's been improving over time. So let's just read what he said in 2005, and part of what he said I agree with. And let's read it. I'd say George Bush's dream of an American-style melting pot democracy serving as a beacon of freedom in the Middle East may not only be a long shot, but it demonstrates a naive understanding of the deep-seated, often divisive ethnic and religious orientation of the Iraqi people. Its people groups are distinct, living in distinct regions, and would rather fight than blend their identities. America as a melting pot worked here. Why? Because America was an absolute empty melting pot when the founding fathers forged our future. Immigrants came by dribs and drabs to our shores, fully expecting to jump into the collective pot, although that is now changing as the mental disorder of liberalism erases our borders, language, and culture. Try as Bush may, Iraq cannot become a melting pot as long as it insists, and then it goes on and on. And let's go here. Nor is there a good reason to expect that if we turn the heat, the various warring factions and hostilities boiling under the surface will suddenly and happily blend together. It's bound to explode. Continuing on. A good example is the former Yugoslavia, a country that didn't really work either. It was a Cold War fiction. The various ethnic groups stuck to their regions and religions, nursed ancient hatreds for each other, and were nominally held together by the dictator Tito behind the Iron Curtain, with the Soviet sledgehammer hanging over them like a sword of Damocles. But when that tyrant's stranglehold of the people ended with his death, and when the Iron Curtain collapsed, Yugoslavia as a country fragmented. So he goes on to compare Iraq to Yugoslavia, where there was ethnic tension, and basically what Bush was carving up with Dick Cheney and Rumsfeld in the early 2000s would backfire, and it completely has backfired as he had predicted, right? I mean, Michael Savage went on to say that he's scared of now more division going on in the Middle East, where you're going to have the Sunni Shiite situation not get out of control, but it's going to get to a point where you're going to have more issues than we've had in the past. That's what he goes on to say about Iran and Iraq trying to combining or consolidating their powers. But put that aside now, and now let's try to look at the oil market. Now, if you look at it, before I get into that, so if you look at it, right, there's tension going on, there's a lot of different groups out there, and as a result of that, you're seeing it backfire. And now let's look at the oil market. I've been saying time in and time out that if oil prices go up, obviously, we're going to see another recession, right? I thought it would have happened a few years ago, but it has continued. The economy has slowly but steadily lagged, right? People may say that we're growing. Well, if you probably look at real inflation rates, we had flat to no growth. And right now we have negative growth using the phony baloney numbers cooked up by the US government. But if you want to go to 2011, right? Remember what was going on with the Arab Spring, right? You saw oil prices go up to $115 a barrel. And then you slowly but steadily saw oil prices go down going into the election of 2012, right? The Saudis were pumping in and probably manipulating the price of oil tried to get their buddy Barack Obama back in office, right? Remember that in 2012, right? Most of you probably don't. But anyways, you started to see oil rebound after that time in October 2012, went up to $110, $112, and it really went sideways. And then last year you saw an oil spike go up to $112 a barrel, right? And the Syrian situation slowly but steadily died down, right? So now, that being said, we have Iraq. In my opinion, this is going to be the dress rehearsal before we get nasty economic growth. I mean, right now, we're slowly but steadily having negative growth, right? Negative 1% or negative 0.5% for GDP. But what's going to happen when you start to see what's going on in Iraq, maybe happening in Iran, right? I still think something's going to go down in Iran, probably 2015, 2016, when you have an election time. And if that happens, it's going to make what's going on in Iraq right now. People are saying that oil prices are going to skyrocket because of Iraq. Well, you're going to see much higher prices in Iran because of what happens in Iran. My bad. And now let's try to look at a few other graphs right now. Over here, you could see this AB equals CD pattern of oil, right? So this basically shows, I don't have the dates in front of me right now, but this is like around 2001, 2002, and this is 2008 where you had the oil shock, where oil was roughly $144 a barrel at its top, and then it went back to roughly $30 a barrel in 2009. It bottomed close to March 2009 when the market bottomed. And if you look at this pattern, right, and extrapolate the data, what some sophisticated traders that I followed indicated that oil prices are going to be going up based on the charts that they follow, right? This doesn't necessarily mean that oil prices are going to spike, right? Just need to always make that clear. But if you look at this, right, where would oil go if this model, if people are following this model, right? This model says it's going to go to $163 a barrel, close to that range. So, based on what's going on in the Middle East, based on how much money we've printed, and based on this petrodollar system, it just seems that we are going to see these prices, and most likely it's going to be a geopolitical event. Something tells me that this Iraq situation is pre-game, or this is just dress rehearsal for what's going to happen in 2016, right? I think a lot of people are going to say this is going to be leading to World War III, or this is going to create disruptions in the oil market. Initially it will, but I think they're going to come to some sort of short-term ceasefire. But, when you see the next round of tension in the Middle East, Arab Spring 3.0, or whether it's in Iran, Israel situation, I see oil prices going at least to $163 a barrel, right? Could I be wrong? Yeah, but this is what I think is going to happen, based on what I'm looking at, and based on what I've studied and researched. And you could also look at margin debt, right? We're close to a top in the market, right? Based on that. Now, when margin debt starts to unwind, the markets are going to unwind. Now, the question is, when is that going to happen? Some people are saying that, hey, we're close to a top. Some people say it's going to happen in 2016. Now, we shall see about that. But, anyways, when you see higher oil prices, right, the next official government stated recession is going to occur, right? I already think we already are in a recession, but remember, phony government numbers say that we have 1% inflation or something ridiculous, right? And if you had what, I don't know, the MIT Billion Price Index said of what the real inflation is, we'd have over negative 1% in GDP growth. So it's all about perception. This is what the government does. They want to make sure that the sheeple don't understand what's going on. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to me. Comment below. And when it comes to videos, I really don't have time to do videos day in and day out. I really want to do this, but due to time restrictions and when I get home, it's like 7:38, and when I haven't researched any topics, I just feel comfortable doing maybe a video once a week or once every 2 weeks, or if I do more than that, then I do have more time during the day, which right now, time is limited. Anyways, for all you fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Thanks. Bye.